Welcome to Section 31, episode number 271. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I'm Rogue Schindler.
This week we have results from a first edition regional in San Diego. We've got another episode of the animated series that we watched. I'm looking forward to talking about this one. We have a TUI spoiler of this guy who I think was a 1E card, or maybe he was already a 2E card. I'm not sure. And there's something else related to the animated series that we'll talk about that too. So what would you like to start out with? I missed out on the 1E. You want to just start out there? I haven't even looked at the tournament result yet.
Well, there's it's regional, so it's a lot. So let's go ahead and do that.
All right.
Get started with that.
If I remember, Friday, I think Matt, we were sitting around and Matt said, "So are you coming to the regional tomorrow?" And you said something like, "Yeah, I think so."
That is about right. I haven't been really thrilled with a lot of the big major rulings that they made recently, mostly card errata and or banning things, the weird stuff within the zone and the loss of orbital stability, the completely pointless errata of loss of orbital stability, and things of that nature. And we have a great community. Usually, it's a nice casual game atmosphere, and so don't see too much of that BS. But this is really this is the one time of year that it's like, everybody kind of forgives everyone else because it's the regional. You play, you come with your A game, and I don't really have. I think I have a D game at best at the moment. I just, I was tempted not to come. I knew there was going to be some hardball, and but JD, our resident newcomer and jester extraordinaire, has been gone for 6 months. He's been the last couple of weeks he's been sending messages about how much he was looking forward to coming and playing with everyone again. And his boat just got back into port on Thursday. He's talked his wife and kid into letting him go for the day so he could come and play. And I felt really bad about sort of abandoning that homecoming, as it were. So sure. I threw a deck together. I tried to make it, a festive occasion, and so between that and crossover coming out at Gen Con, it's like, I want to play the Terran Empire one last time, the way it was meant to be played, with ultimate chicanery and shenanigans all over the place. And so, not really the way it was meant to be played, but the way I have a decade or so of fond memories playing it, probably 2. Geez, this game is old.
And so are we. Yeah. Same joke at the same time. Yeah. So you played the deck that you've kind of honed this, as you said, over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I went back to a lot of the basic advantages that deck has, but there is something I've been wanting to do with it since the Maquis came out, and that's play it with Maquis and a bunch of nonsense together, and I haven't had a chance to do it yet. So we just went with all of the shenanigans, Hawken Council, Rebellion HQ, Mirror Terek Nor, Bajoran Resistance Cell. They call themselves the Maquis. Free plays to Quark Spar. Threw in an Intendant. Had a Bajoran Federation Treaty. Had a couple free plays to her, and just no wormholes. 2 regions, all beaming all day, and just ridiculousness abounding. And I had a great time. I lost my first round, and it was probably one of the most fun games I had. Just messing around with Charlie, and we got done to. I think time was called, and I went first, and we were tied. And he's like, "This is hilarious. I don't want to go." And we're like, "What do you mean you don't want to go? It's the regional." He's like, "Yeah, I guess I should try to win in the regional." It's like, "Yes, you should try to win in the regional." And so he went out, and he for once, I'm always shocked when people see that Forsaken, and they don't stop and plot it out, because I've been using that combo That's like the one combo I've ever thought of. I don't know if I'm the first one to think of it, but I thought of it myself, and so I'm very proud of it. It's a cross edition combo, and so I still play it. It's still pretty good, but if you play the right deck, if you have, like, say, a legitimate leader deck that has a Duras in it, so you have sufficient honor and sufficient treachery, and you see the Forsaken, you throw the treachery under the bus because the honor is going to be needed for the Ankari spirits.
Right.
And I think he's the first person I've seen who saw what was happening, recognized it, and did the right thing, and did exactly that. And so he did that, blew through that combo, hit my last wall, and his second team got through, and he was able to pull ahead. But it was a great game. We both had fun goofing all over. He almost put Kronos right next to my Badlands region, which would have made them even worse lands. But it was entertaining. I had a Defiant Maquis in my deck that I could drop just in case, things went weird, or if I wanted to do something or I needed to move around. I had a couple capture cards in my deck so that I could go and grab somebody and be escorting them to get the bonus points for that one Badlands mission if I needed to.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, just all kinds of shenanigans. I cleared out the Maquis from the Badlands so I could get the 10 points from find hidden base.
Yeah.
And just it was really flexible. I if you can't tell, between those two planet missions and the three mirror planet missions, I went all planet. So I was already going to 140, and I got there once. But that was a really fun game against Charlie in my opening round. He was playing legitimate leader Klingons, as I mentioned, with the exchange program, and really solid deck, pretty sleek and fast. Got stopped by a few of my dilemmas early, but as I mentioned, he pulled ahead at the end. I just happened to catch him. He was like, I just took out all my space dilemmas. Like, he had 2 space dilemmas in his deck, and so the all planet did not really affect him at all, which was why I was trying to be aggressively micro teaming so I could break through the less solid combos and find those space missions, but it just wasn't happening on that game. And that succeeded in my alternate plan of sandbagging to avoid playing TK, who had shown up, and I jokingly, when I saw him and he looked up and waved, and I turned around and walked out and went back to my car. TK plays a solid game, and I was like, he's going to have something scary and brutal, and I don't want to play against it. And I didn't. I felt bad. I was the only person who didn't have to play him, but I didn't really feel that bad. And it also meant that I won the rest of my games.
Nice.
Which including defeating the ultimate winner of the tournament, which was kind of surprising for me. And so I had that sort of, hey, I did really well. I got a B. I was expecting a C. And if I tried a little harder, I could have got that A. But no, let's not think about that. Let's just think about how much fun we had and that we got a B. That was cool. So yeah, that I got to play JD my second game, and that was always hilarious. He had a really cool deck that actually makes me want to try Delta Klingons, which was shocking. He had 2, whatever the Volklang or whatever the Delta ship is, that special downloads Home Away from Home, but he didn't special download Home Away from Home. He seeded Home Away from Home, and then he used his space door to get another ship, and then used a special download at the same location to get the Home Away from Home on that ship to use the other requirements. So he had Delta reports on one and Alpha reports on the other with new arrivals.
Interesting.
And so that gave him a little more flexibility than they usually have. And it was cool. He got a lot of people. Unfortunately, he just went to the wrong combos really early, and kind of he hit that same combo, the Ankari Spirit, Forsaken and Ankari Spirits, and did not have the treachery, so he had to lose. Kaitless went under the deck, and then there were 2 honor left. So that really slowed him down.
Sure.
And then he did have space dilemmas, which gave me a bit of an advantage to going and attempting. He nearly broke my game at the end, however, when the Nexus came up. He had some really good seed plays. He dropped the what is it, the Borg dilemma? Not Borg ship, but the Enterprise mini Borg that is self-propelling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ship.
The assimilated vessel or something like that. Civil
Yeah,
transport.
and if it goes off the end of the space line, you score 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And he had it at the middle mission of my 3-mission mirror quadrant space line. And I was like, oh, wow, I have no possibility of hitting this. Or you know, I only have one chance. I don't even get 2 turns to try and take it out before he gets those points. It was only by sheer luck that I had been really super nervous about hitting a god because I was playing with very limited ships. And so I was like dropping people off and then docking or moving away. I kept Scotty on the Enterprise, so it would be big, you know, beefy the whole time. And I managed to luck into having Chekhov at the time. So I had that extra +1. And so I had weapons of 9, and I had Kira on the station, and it was where my station was, so at Bajor. And so I was able to attack it and actually blow it up. And I heard from the other, I was like, you know, I called over to Charlie. I was like, what do you need to have? You just need a commander and ops, right, to attack with the station? And he's like, yeah. He's like, just anybody in ops if you're defending. I was like, no, I'm attacking. And somebody was like, who are you attacking? I was like, I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, so I managed to blow that up. And then later, I really got lucky hitting the Eero probe first. And it turns out there was basically nothing to stop me underneath it. So I would have solved, but I went and finished the other 2 mirror missions and then came back to that. And there was a misseed and a Nexus, which, again, short space line, all of my people. And, you know, I have to do a lot of missions. And so I had 3 ships in my deck, and 2 of them were on the table in the mirror quadrant. And it came along and it blew up my Enterprise, and it came along and it blew up my Defiant, and my people were on the planet. But, I mean, I was really lucky that I had just finished the Badlands region mission, because I could then beam to the Alpha Quadrant Badland, both of the Badlands missions.
Okay, sure.
And go and attempt those. Because if I had been at Bajor, I would have only been able to go to Bajor. I had no other way to move to get to my beaming spots. And I could have like waited until I recite, you know, try to dabo some of those cards out from under the ships and then process war the ship back into my deck and ops download it. But it would have been a long wait. And so that was narrow. Walking out the door to the tournament, I grabbed an extra multidimensional transporter device to throw in my deck just to have 2. I was like, oh, Braille downloads anything. Maybe I'll need 2. And I can get, you know, I get an extra one with crossover. And I can leave 1 in the Bajor region and leave 1 in the Badlands region. And JD blew 1 up with a disruptor overload.
Cool.
And I had to go get the other one. I think I already had the other one out, but I was like, yeah, I had to go back to the station and pick the other one up and come back. And he had a way to get it back because he was using nanoprobe resuscitation to get AMS.
Okay.
And
yeah, sure.
He was waiting for another nanoprobe, and he was considering not AMSing and getting that. And that also would have. So that game I won 140 to 35, but the entire time I felt like I was on the edge of collapse.
That's really interesting. I like the. Okay, well, going back to the nexus behind the Edo probe, that's an interesting play because that means that if you hit the Edo probe and you decide to wait, you're more likely to have more ships out, and the nexus is going to do more damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess in your case, I mean, had your people been in different places, it would have been over. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
rough. I
And
like that.
because it moves right away, and I use all my range for ferrying, so by the time I'm attempting a mission, I pretty much can't move again. And so I wouldn't have been stopped. I would have solved the mission, but I wouldn't have been able to go anywhere. And by the time my turn came back, my ship would have been gone. And it would have been earlier. I might have had a better chance of cycling the ship back in the deck, but it would have been an interesting thing.
Yeah, nice, awesome. All right. What was? Did you say what JD was playing?
Delta Klingons,
Death of Klingons. Yes. Okay. So what? And Charlie. Did you mention what Charlie was playing? Sorry.
legitimate Klingons.
Right, because he had Duras or Kalis went under the deck. Right. I seem to remember being yelled across the room about some picture that you took. Was that the next round against TV?
That was the final round against
Okay.
TV.
So who'd you play after JD?
Third round was against Matt. We sat down, and I was really looking forward to it because it looked really interesting. He came in with a certain degree of trepidation because he was playing DS9. I think his deck title implied that he was using the Holo program because it was like DS9 Lovers or something like that. I didn't see any of that. We kind of got into it right away. Um, he had DS9, and I think we doubled up Bajor, and I had the Badlands regions kind of right there looming, and the mirror quadrant guys have been known to pop over and do some damage now and again, and so I wasn't really thinking about it because I wasn't planning on being that aggressive. I was planning on aggressively attacking my missions, but apparently that. I don't know. He was being very cautious in his movement, so I don't know if that was affecting his gameplay. He did pull out. I feel like this is a recurring theme. I really liked his deck, except for this one dickish move. And I make that joke to him a lot. It's like he's have these cool, particularly in 2A, these cool weird decks, and then he does something cool, and I'm just like, man, that I was really liking your deck. Then you freaking go and piss me off. But there's this thing that, and I'm sure people have been doing it. I guess I just haven't playing against jerks who do it, or decks that you can play it against, where Containment Field, which is a perfectly legitimate card as it stands, as a ref card, where you have to throw stuff under when you download things, and then you
Right.
get those that it's meant to throttle your special downloads. Don't do too many. You get 2 a turn, and then you get those cards back. If you do more than that, you lose a turn. But now, because of the way Tribunal works, you can at any time apparently just choose to recycle that card or do whatever with it, and any cards on that are discarded.
Yeah.
And you could just do it all the time, and apparently it makes no difference if I try to play mine suspending play, because he can just double suspend play and double dumbass on you and play his again, and then I can't try to play mine, because if I try to play mine again, and there's nothing but special downloads in that deck. And I had a lot of card draw engines, so it was mostly annoying instead of inhibiting, but it was still really freaking annoying. And I had already come with that. I threw mine in because it was a regional, and I was going to use it as it was meant to be used. But Johnny introduced me to that, and I was like, "Thanks, Johnny." And then Matt had to go out of his way to explain how he was the one who introduced this to the meta in our area, because he's the ultimate dick move guy. And like, he was very proud of being the one who invented this dick move, and so I was very confusingly happy to give him credit for that. But aside from that kind of put me on edge and made me a little more aggressive than I might have been otherwise. And so I put some guys on my ship. I was sad to realize at the moment, and he's going to berate me next time he sees me in person when he finds out I was going to do this, but I remember in the past using my deck with my ships in the Alpha Quadrant and Kirk downloading the Tantalus field to go and kill everybody.
Yeah.
But I forgot that was when I was downloading mirror ships to the Alpha Quadrant, and I played it. I was planning on dropping it on the Defiant, and I couldn't do that. Like halfway through my plan to do that, before I was looking to download the card, and I was like, "Oh, that can't go there. I'll download a communicator." And so I just docked my ship and walked over, and instead I pulled out a gun and I shot Morn with the Art of Diplomacy, which I got 3 copies of, thanks to the 2 emblems and they call themselves the Maquis.
That's right.
And so I forget what he did, but he got Morn back and downloaded him and played him again. And so I killed him again with my last copy of Art of Diplomacy, and then I flew home. So that was my containment field vengeance. But on the whole, the rest of it was just attempting missions, and I liked, as far as new cards, not a lot of new cards involved in this aside from splashing stuff, but the new crossover is really cool. And so I used, and that there's apparently a crossover, so Smiley, who downloads crossover, can get that as well. And so I was using that to play a couple of alpha people to my mirror quadrant, including Morn. And my back pocket ace, or whatever analogy you want to use, is Win Adami, who downloads Diplomatic Contact.
Yeah.
Which lets you put a personnel on top of your deck. And if you'll remember, my old school mirror deck was very thin on verbs because interrupts and incidents, doorways, are all bad probes for Dabo. And with the number of cards I had in my deck, I said, screw it, and I stacked it full of, I asked Charlie afterwards, like, is 25% too much for draw engine cards in your deck? Because it's just a ton of, I had so many free plays that I wanted to be drawing lots of cards. And so to get around those bad probes of Dabo, I was like, well, I'll play Dabo less, but I'll make it hit.
Yeah, no, sure.
And that was how I was trying to turn the corner without having to do a 5th mission. And with Matt playing DS9, I was able to use his ops download instead of having to draw into Win or the Diplomatic Contact. I threw the so that was a big help, and gave me an edge. I don't know if that was the difference in our score or if I got one more mission, but I did just eke out a win against Matt. It was really close, and I hadn't really hit too many of his misseeds yet, so I was looking forward to hopefully blowing through a few more missions. But that did really help me feel a little more comfortable as we were going down the stretch. Although having Diplomatic Contact in the deck instead of in my tent where I would normally put the downloads, since I couldn't get good access to her, turned out to be really beneficial in my last game because I drew into it, and then I played it on Cal Hudson because he has Diplomacy and Treachery.
Right.
And I needed to rig a couple of Dabos to try and get comfortable at the end. So that, going back to your comment, I took a picture of it because our first 4 missions, Thomas and I dropped, 3 of them were duplicated, including all of his planets.
Oh, and okay.
Bajor, Badlands, Capture Planet, and Find Hidden Base. And then he had one other Badlands mission and a couple of Bajor regions. He was playing a massive Cardassian free play deck, and as he always does, he somehow manages to find a way to do it with seeding 5 cards and 110 card draw deck and getting his engines working right away. Now, looking at his list, I can see why he could draw something alternative, that new Cardassian event, a better alternative right away, because he had 15 copies of it in his deck. But it's really nice because it does let you, if you discard a card, you get to draw a card, and if that's a unique Cardassian, or no, not even a unique Cardassian, just a DS9 Cardassian or a site, you get to draw 2 cards instead. So it's very heavily Cardassian flavored with the wasteful, it's very 2E flavor that I'm going to draw lots of cards and pitch lots of cards and just dig in for what I got. He had tons of universal Cardassian security personnel because they play with no limit for free to that goon Ekor,
Yeah.
who he ops download right away, and so that was another free play. He had we need you here, so he could ops download for free, or not for free, but without penalizing yourself with the card draw, which was killing me. Going back to that was rough. And just lining up, man, he had tons and tons of Cardassians. And then finally I realized, I was like, why is he just heavily loaded and sitting there not doing anything? And I realized it was because I could beam over it at any time with my, I'm guessing, he had a bunch of them in ops and a bunch of them in the security office, and he got a gun, and I had Fontaine and his 2 disruptors, and Sulu and his pistol, and Shankar gets a rifle now, and I got an extra rifle from Art of Diplomacy, and mirror knife, and so I was outfitted with weapons. So I may have inadvertently made him a little nervous as well. But he was taking immediate advantage to the errata. I guess one of the things that people did was lesser known, or maybe it was, again, not reading the boards because I read slowly and can't keep up. But
I guess was it preparation?
Preparation H, because it's gonna right in the cornhole all of your combos. He had the scan, which I meant to put in my deck because there is a ref card that screws up the scan because it specifically says scan on the science station or science lab.
Yep.
But he scanned my science lab, and then he dropped the preparation. I had been sitting on a Quinn all game. We even joked about it because I pitched one to process orbs. Like, I trust you. You're not going to do anything crazy. And then I drew another one. And I was so staggered that this was legal and that he could do this because I was like, I feel like people would have been doing this. How is this not banned? And then he explained it was unbanned because it was in the zone. And I was so agog that I forgot to Quinn it before he had a chance to look at the dilemma. And he was reading the dilemma when I was like, wait, no, Quinn. Balls, never mind. I'm not losing 5 points since you've already read the card. And it was, of course, friendly fire.
Which is one that you want to, yeah.
Yeah, and we had 20 minutes left of gameplay. And, in a late game, already kind of slow.
That would have locked that one out.
Yeah, that's absolutely something that, and he's playing Cardassians. There's a perfectly legitimate chance he's going to have 2 leadership and 2 security. But, if he goes and micro teams it or just goes to scout it a little bit and, he was already hitting space missions with one guy so he could see what was there, it's definitely something I would have preferred to have not, to be a surprise. So that was a kind of confused, just taken aback misstep on my part. But I went back to slaughtering my people against his dilemma grinder because I was like, at least one of these missions has to have some space dilemmas. We have 3 duplicate missions. They're not going to be there because he needs to do at least one of those missions, right? No, all of his great combos were at my mirror missions. He had this, of course, Thomas playing a dilemma that I was like, this is kind of weird, but it could be fun, but not very good. And leave it to Thomas, put it in just the right place. It was like something about the continuum, the great material continuum.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And you can have honor and no security or a laundry list of other stuff. And I had the laundry list of other stuff except for youth. And I was like, but why wait and do that when I have honor and no security right here, which is exactly what he wanted me to do, so that I would walk into his Barclays regression disease and his shades of gray and have everybody die. And I think there was even something else before that, but yeah, it was unscientific method because he wanted to take out of science too.
That's
and
awesome.
and I had been sweating this whole time. I had my ETU, which, by the way, if you're using to try and save key personnel and you keep moving your ship away to save it from God, does not help. In fact,
One or
your
the
ship
other, huh?
does in fact need to be there for you to beam up to avoid that. So that was a lesson learned, but I had learned that lesson that turn
Can you
by
beam to
the
a
end of
ship
the
in another
game.
quadrant?
And so, no, because it specifically says your personnel is relocated to your ship here and
Okay.
is stopped. It's not just beam away. Otherwise, that would have been hilarious. I'm like, please tell me I have a way to get out of this. But all 4 dilemmas on the way down, I'm like, do I save this person? Well, they're kind of good, but I don't need them. No, don't save this person. Keep going. You don't know what's going to happen. Because I had exactly three personnel that could solve this mission, one by themselves, and the other 2 I had to have both. And I had the one by themselves, Professor Cisco, who solves the mission by herself at the homeworld, Terran Empire homeworld. And every time I'm like, nope, gotta keep going. That person dies. Nope, gotta keep going. And then we hit I lucked out. Everyone else died, regressing to pre-evolutionary monsters, and then apparently into probably single-celled organisms, and then disappearing. And then she beams back down. It's like, where'd everybody go? Okay, I guess I'll solve this mission.
Uh,
But that was the fulcrum. That was the turning point of the game, because without that, if I had made bad decisions earlier about using that, she would have died. I would never have drawn into my other guys. Although it turns out, in retrospect, I could have opt-downed them, but uh, it was a really tough. I got through that. Got through my second mission. Same thing. Another Barclays, another security stopper, and another Barclays, and I was 1 short again. And I was very proud of myself. I had managed to put together about 7 people in 2 turns, and I was like, I can keep going. All right, let's go. It can't be as bad as it was before.
I find it amusing that Thomas played a deck with an insane number of security personnel and then made
Oh
combos
man,
that whittled away all of yours.
yep. And the worst part was at the point where I made this decision, this sort of, I've got 1 mission. Do I go over here? Do I go back over here? He finally starts picking away at my missions. He hits the divided, which was what he scanned, which was good because there's not really anything you can do about knowing that's there. Arsenal divided, and then the cloud, which stopped his ship, and then was like, well, I'll come over. There's only 1 more dilemma here. I'll attempt with 1 guy on my ship, which is exactly what GOM 2 Shockwave was designed for. So both of his ships get damaged. Both of them get flung towards me, and I'm 1 range away from my empty Maquis Defiant, which is hovering, cloaked, doing nothing, with 1 guy on it in the Badlands waiting for me to need it. And I'm like, I could beam over there. I could fly over. All of these important people are on this 1 ship, and it's damaged. They could fire back, but they wouldn't blow me up. I could totally. I don't have enough range. Oh my god. And I was like, well, I got a big beefy ship. Maybe I should come over and start picking away. What is he going to do? He's not going to come over and try to steal his mission from me. I'll blow his ass up. But he seeded like 5 dilemmas under one of our missions, our double, and I was very pleased with myself. I remembered what all my dilemmas were. I could actually get past them. I had a Dr. Nut, a bricklayer, in my hand from turn 1 that I sat on waiting to play on my own Horda. I had Dr. McCoy in my deck that I was waiting for to get past my medical combo if I had to go there. And Founder Secret Denevian Neural Parasites is the best possible combo for me to face with this deck, because all my guys are super strong and I have a bunch of guns to protect them, so I can go do it with 6 and protect 3 with my 3 guns. So it was just about what he had there, and I was like, but there's 4 here and there's 7 there, or there's 9 there. Why would I go over there and do that? And the closest, and there was only 5 under the one, but it's closest to him, and I don't want to risk it. Yeah, all of his space dilemmas were there. The 2 Badland missions, all of his space missions. He could not have touched it if he wanted to, and I could have cruised through my own and skipped all of his misseeds, which he showed me after, which was even more hilarious. But instead, I went to the second meat grinder, and all my people died, and then I got a few more people and played Unsolved. But as it turns out, both of our decks were a lot of setup, and my single, he got stopped by, he got past Friendly Fire, but then got stopped by the game, Chula the game. Went to the other missions and tried to do those, and that was just, it was all enough to stop him, and I was able to keep going and attempt until time ran out. Got some Dabo, rigged Dabo, and picked up 71-0. That's what that last card was. He quantum incursion 3 in a row, 2 empathy and science or whatever it is. He just kept being, like, well, do I keep doing this or do I try to do something else and then come back? And he just kept beating his head against it. But yeah, it was a really tight game. And again, I used his ops download to get Kai Wynn and Cargo Bay to get Morn, and then beamed them away before anything bad could happen to them.
That's pretty sick.
So it was nice to have that, thanks for the station. Bye, because I don't want to die. But it was another crazy Thomas deck. And, he had, I believe, full wins on the day in his other 3 rounds. So even though head-to-head, I beat him, he still came away with the win. And rightly so. His deck was monstrous, and I think it would have only been worse if I had an actual set of real missions instead of playing 6 planets.
Very good. So what was the final standings then at the end of 4 rounds?
It was 4 rounds. We had TK in second place, who I did not have to play, but I heard he was playing TNG Romulans with Android support. So he got that Cybernetics guy right away. And was using that as another free report, TNG androids to go with TNG Romulans. He came in right behind TV, who had beat him in their match, the Battle of the Thomases. So Thomas came in with the 1 loss and 3 full wins for the victory. TV with the win. TK came in right behind him with 12 points, just ahead of me because I had 1 full win and 2 timed wins. So I actually came in third, which is slightly different than how we did it there, but I don't think it really didn't really affect anything. It's not about who wins. It did not affect who wins. So
it's about who doesn't have to play TK.
And yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty standard deck, and but who knows? I never know. As I was told, as TK experiences can go, it's not nearly as scary as it could have been. So it's yay. Maybe I could have played him and had a come away with a win. But on the whole, it was good to see everybody again. We had a good time playing. We joked a lot all around. JD was in, fine form, returning and commenting with on everybody's decks in game, and had good chats with everybody in between rounds, and it was a long day, and it did not feel like it. By the time we got to tribbles, and they're like, okay, we got to speed tribbles because we got 45 minutes before they close, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Where did this day go? I feel like, I honestly felt like I could go another round, and I don't. So it was good. It was a good game. TK had a long drive back to LA, so he hit the road. The 5 of us stayed around for tribbles. It was fairly one-sided. Matt went out once and Charlie went out once, and they pretty much dominated the rest of us looking for points. I think TK went in out, or TV went out in the last round just to get on the board. But I pulled out my old clone deck just because I hadn't played it in a long time, and I was like, I keep carrying this thing around. I should play it, and I should not. That's not true. I was at Odo like 3 rounds in a row, and somebody went out right before me, and so we had a good time. We sped through it. We did not even close the place down. We were out before they closed. We played that fast. So,
wow. Right on.
I think Matt ended up winning with $500,000.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed out. I was on the road to see family again, and after 600 miles, I decided I did not want to drive down and beat my head into the wall with one of your triples or anything like that. So I'll be around next time. But sounds like a good day, and that's a lot of hours. And it didn't feel like a lot of hours. That's a win for sure.
Yeah. Right. And I had a great time playing Mirror again. It's fun. I'm looking forward to crossover and having it make things make a little more sense. But it was nice to be nostalgic and play that deck one more time before it gets fixed.
Probably so. Right on. All right. Shall we change gears and talk a bit about the TUI spoiler, or do you want to go into the animated show?
This smug mug here staring at me.
Do that. So. Help me with my memory. Is this a 1E card?
I think he must be. I definitely recognize him. I think he's probably a 1E Voyager card. But I don't remember him. He's not that memorable, obviously, because otherwise we would both be able to spot him. And also, I didn't play a lot of 1E Voyager because cheesy crap.
128U. He's a mission support personnel in first edition. All right, so this is. Yeah, go ahead.
This must be much better if he only had 3 skills.
2. Engineer, yeah. Asked
well in the classification.
Actually, that's interesting because if you converted this to second edition, he'd still only have 2 skills because he was previously engineer, and then he had astrophysics ×2 and stellar cartography.
Oh wow!
So that would lump together to 2 astrometrics, which is this guy's first skill.
Is what he has, yeah.
Let me switch over to screen share here. His name is Mortimer. Mortimer Heron. Interesting that his stats from first edition to second edition are quite different. Let me turn that on here. So in first edition, since we've been talking a lot about first edition, I'm going to keep talking about first edition. He was a 696. He's only a 666 in second edition, but he still does have a lot of skills. 2 astrometrics, physics, science, and transporters. And you get all that for 1 cost.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this whole undercosted super genius characters go in the Voyager, to go with, they're awesome, but only if you are playing with no planets.
Yeah, so that's what his text is. Well, let's go from the top. Cost 1, Federation personnel, Mortimer Heron, reclusive genius. He's got a staff star and a Voyager icon. For that 1 cost, you get 2 astrophysics, science, and transporters. His game text says, when you play this personnel, he is cost +2 for each planet mission you command. While this personnel is facing a dilemma, you may exclude each corresponding commander present aboard his or her ship from random selections. And 666, and his number appears to be 34V33, although that's usually subject to shenanigans.
Yes.
So, even what would you say for this guy for 3? If you threw in 1 planet mission, and the rest space to go, with your Voyager theme, for a cost of 3, is he a bargain? I don't think so for 6.
No, I mean, I think he becomes, average.
Yeah.
Which is good. He's got a pretty decent ability. He can jump in front, or not even jump in front. He just pushes, your commanders out of the way.
Yeah.
And we've already seen that we've got a new, commander for Delta Flyer, so you can have at least 2 people that he can affect with that if he's on the flyer.
But I guess he really shines if you're playing all space, and he only costs 1. That's pretty good.
Right. I'm curious about his stats, especially relative to his 1E stats, but I honestly didn't remember this guy at all, so I went and memory alpha'd him. And he's supposed to be like some kind of super genius, and it's the fact that he is super smart about this theoretical problem that actually saves their bacon.
And yet, he only has a counting of 6. That's interesting that it
Yeah,
doesn't translate at all.
that feels like, pretty requisite, or pretty good justification for the cunning 7. Now, what I am curious about is if this is affected at all by the fact that they have that other card that's been spoiled on the side already, that enhances guys that only have cost a 1 or less.
Blink, blink. Actually, I was looking up. Good Shepherd. Not Overrun. Not
Oh
Red
no,
Mask.
it's Janeway. It's that new Janeway. So when
Oh, right.
Janeway,
Yeah.
when any number of your Voyager personnel present cost 1 or less are about to be stopped by dilemma, you may stop this personnel to prevent that.
Yeah. There's also Rise to the Occasion, the Interrupt. Your personnel is facing dilemma. Discard a card from hand to make him or her gain a skill from one of your personnel present that costs 1 or less. That's interesting.
Yeah. I really thought I saw one that was attribute related too, where all of your weenies are attributes +1. Oh, it's a mission.
Ah, okay.
Each of your personnel here that cost 1 or less are attributes +1.
All right. And it struck me that Good Shepherd would probably be good for this. That you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
At the start of the turn, you can stop your commander, download a non-unique personnel. I don't know if we've seen any. Have we seen very many non-uniques yet that cost 1 or less?
Yes, in fact, that's one of the best guys there. It's
Okay.
what's his name?
Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel.
Yep.
Is that actually Vin Diesel, or does it just look like Vin Diesel?
I couldn't say.
But this guy's a tank. Universal, so you can have 3 of them for 1 cost, 5 really good skills. I mean, he doesn't have anything else other than essentially if you're playing with no planets, he has no game text.
Right.
But 666, and then he's a 777 at that mission. Whoa. That's crazy. I don't know if there's just a law that Voyager has to be crazy.
So
crazy
apparently
good.
That's the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello.
Ah, okay.
Anyway.
Because he looks like Vin Diesel, but not quite.
So interesting. I think that's all the information from the card. That Interrupt makes me want to put it in a old school TOS deck, not the movie guys, but the original ones with all those 1-costers.
Oh yeah, they play to the bonus cost.
Yeah, and then I think about
cost is low.
how much those get slapped around by all the low cost hate, and I put it all back. This feels like it's going to suffer from the same thing. At the first week, everyone's going to bring this deck, and everyone else is going to bring just anti 1-cost slaughter.
Yep. Oh, and there's another guy from that episode who just got posted since we got past the tick.
Oh, nice.
While this personnel is facing a dilemma, you may discard a Voyager card from hand to download an interrupt.
Oh, well, there you go.
So you can go get that interrupt and gain a skill.
That's pretty good.
And he's also got a lot of skills.
Yeah.
And he's a Voyager treachery personnel.
Man, that's going to be a pretty fast build. A lot of 1-cost guys, throwing a lot of people down.
Yeah, it feels like another seesaw. All with all the anti, low cost hate, and then now we're going to give you all these bonuses for playing low cost.
Yep.
And then get slapped by the hate, or if you don't using those specific cards, then you get screwed, and they kind of get away with it. It'll be interesting. I mean, at least the Good Shepherd will be good again for something other than Equinox.
Yeah. All
I,
right.
I did love getting my 3 what's his names with that Mr. Skill Tank Universal Equinox guy.
All right. Let me shut that off. You want to you want to slide into the animated series? We both sat through another episode, but I would I wouldn't use that
What
phrase
about
this
this?
time. Hmm?
What about this icon here? That's a good segue on the. Is it? I
Yes.
got it on the home page. I
Yeah.
happen to be on
There
the
you
right.
go. Hey, the hat. I have any idea what that is? I mean, it's clearly it's a tribble. Is that a hat? A cowboy
Well, I
hat?
mean, until he said the hat, yeah, I was like, oh, what is that? But yeah, it looks like it's weirdly backlit, so it's hard to tell. But it looks like a tribble wearing a cowboy hat. So I don't know. Is this a fistful of tribbles?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yes, and clearly, this that little promo that went on the main page is the only thing we should be talking about. Forget about the second edition set and whatever first edition cards.
Yeah,
Tribbles is where it's
because
at, right?
yeah, and this means, and we've only seen these kinds of teasers when they're about to announce a new set for a game, and we've been waiting a long time for new tribbles. It's there weren't any last year. There weren't any this year on the previously traditional date of my birthday. So I'm due for a present.
Very good. Right on. All right. So, tangentially related to that, the
Absolutely related to that.
the episode of the animated series that we watched this week was More Tribbles, More Troubles, which I have to say, uh, uh, every episode that we've seen so far has had this moment when I look away from the television, like, what is going on? somebody's singing and it's going on for far too long, or the ship is just
Uh,
floating in space and no one's saying anything and nothing's happening. This is the first episode where maybe once at the very beginning there was a pan of the Enterprise that wasn't doing anything, but there were no
yep.
prolonged. I felt the pace of this episode was much closer to what I think of as television. Would you say?
Yeah, agreed. I thought that from the very beginning. That opening pan was really long,
You
but
know,
then they kind of dive into it.
I remember back in the very beginning when we were recording this show, Matt was making every episode exactly, was it
17 minutes in 1 second.
1 second long, and I can only think of, okay, those times when we only talk for 9 minutes, or for 15 minutes, that's 2 minutes of filler he's got to put in. That's exactly what that was. They wrote a 29-minute, or whatever, a 19-minute episode, and they should have made it a 20-minute episode. So we got a minute of the Enterprise floating by.
Again, there was so much stuff that got abbreviated and could have been expanded on. It's like, did they just not try? It's like, well, we can't put anything in the middle. We got to tack something on in the end or the beginning.
Each segment has to be a certain length, right?
I mean,
because they had to work around commercials.
Like, they didn't even bother to tell you who the captain is of the Klingon ship, and then later somebody's like, "Oh, well, that Captain Koloth is certainly very cunning." It's like, okay, it is supposed to be Koloth, I guess.
Yes. So I think my favorite thing about this episode was a new side of the Klingons is their science and research departments are just gangbusters, because not only have they got this new weapon that completely disables a ship, one ship at a time, for a little while, they also have this core group of genetic engineering that created this Glommer thing that is going to, the savior of all of their tribble wars. That's two great inventions wrapped in one episode.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel better, if it makes it more believable for you, I think things to consider would be that the Glommer was specifically designed to defeat the tribbles, which is, I think, counts as warfare. So that's very much, the Great Tribble Hunt has to go down, and that means that their budget is, increased by an order of magnitude, and B, the scientifically superior weapon that they were using from their ship doesn't work very well.
No, sure, but it would be really great, single ship versus single ship for a little while, until apparently you can't have shields up when you're using it because people can beam on your ship.
It knocks you out the same as it knocks them out, and then you just hope that you recharge before they do.
I think Spock at some point said, there's probably some really great tactics that they could use this for. I wonder how long it's going to be before they figure it out. And something told me that the writers were having that same problem.
Yeah.
This is a great idea. Someone's going to figure something out. Let's just use it for now.
And I love that they write off the entire episode in the end, where it's like, well, this is clearly a very scientifically superior weapon that could be very cool, but obviously is not energy efficient enough for warfare, and therefore we have no reason to worry about it in the future.
Yeah.
Right you are, Spock.
So go ahead.
I think my favorite, since I'm just doing impressions, my favorite line reading of the episode, because you've already mentioned a couple of times about the voiceover work being pretty good and none of it being too overly done. And Trouble with Tribbles is an episode where Kirk really kind of starts getting into it, and he gnaws some of that furniture, really excited. And he does, when Cyrano shows up, they beam him aboard, and he's like, I think we know that man.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god! And they had to animate that.
There were a couple of interesting animated bits here. You could tell they spent a little extra dollar. Well, like he held up 3 fingers. Or 4 fingers, I don't remember what it was. He held up a few fingers, and they actually, was counting something. It's like, wow, they actually drew that. That's kind of cool. My problem with this is my problem that happens when I go back and watch a TNG or a DS9 episode is like, oh, that's 10 tribbles. Oh, there's 10 copy. Oh, there's 100 antidote, or 100 million, whatever. But on the other hand, there were a couple of shots. I'm like, how come we've never used this for a tribble before? A couple of times when there's holding one up, and like Kirk's got that at the very end, when I think Scotty holds one tribble out, and he's just got this, he's got this, smirk, the Kirk smirk.
I'll think I'll stand.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's go back a step. He said that there was one line where he sounded like they told him he was going to be pushing the tribble out of the chair when he said it. But he had already done it.
And he'd already pushed it out?
Yes. It's like, oh, just beam him up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And they like Spock has a line, and then Kirk has it at the very end, and I forget what it was, but it's something to the effect of, oh, or is it? Oh, and they exchange a look, and they did this really well animated Kirk doing the Spock, the eyebrow back at Spock.
Oh, was that the we should throw the tribbles at him? I thought.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Don't make jokes. It wasn't.
Dun dun dun.
So anyway, I actually had some audible laughs. The girl was laughing at the very end. I was laughing at the Klingons and the tribbles, and
they did it to us again.
Yes. The first thing is, don't do that again, or something like that. I was entertained. I think this is the best episode I've seen so far, because I did not at any point think, is it almost over yet? I didn't have any major problems with the plot elements. I thought it was it was good strategy. They used the extra ships. The Klingons had to split their attention, and the weapon didn't work anymore. And then the Klingons had a good strategy of taking out the ship so they could use it again, and it was good back and forth. I had no problems.
My only major qualms were Tribble Colony, super creepy. Since we haven't mentioned it, the sort of premise of the episode is that Cyrano Jones has made the Tribbles unable to breed genetically. because of. So he is apparently some kind of scientific genetic genius, apparently, but he's not, because when he did that, he forgot to reduce their metabolism, so they just keep getting bigger when they eat. Only they don't just keep getting bigger, they apparently create a giant colony, which is this giant 5-foot diameter tribble, which is a bunch of little tiny tribbles inside of it. And that creeped me the frack out. Like, he gives it a little shot and it falls apart into a bazillion tribbles. I'm like, how? Oh, don't want to think about that too much. Super. Like, is it just so it was pregnant, but it couldn't have the babies, and so it just kept growing? What was happening there? Don't think too hard about it. And then the whole reason the Klingons are attacking them. Let's forget about the fact that there's the whole Organian peace treaty thing that they're supposed to be worried about the Organians coming and smacking them down if they're fighting again. Is they want Cyrano Jones. You must turn him over. Well, we don't really like him either, but we can't do that. He's a Federation citizen. No, you must give us Cyrano Jones. We will beat down your ship's door if you don't give him to us. No, okay, actually, we don't want him. We really just want the thing he's carrying, the Glommer, because we need it. He stole it from us. It's the Tribble Eater, and we need it to eat the Tribbles. So just give us that. We don't care about him. And it took like hours and hours of strategic combat and being infested with Tribbles on their ship before he would finally, Koloth, one of the best commanders, strategically speaking, of the Empire in his day, to finally admit, well, no, actually, we don't really care about him. We just want the little creature that maybe if we had just said that to begin with, you probably would have just given to us. But we're going to attack because I'm the Iceman, and I apparently have not learned diplomacy yet, but I will in the future.
Yeah. See, this is the mission where he decides, clearly my diplomacy skills are lacking. I'm going back to school.
With Curzon.
Yes. To get his advanced degree. All right. Okay, so maybe it wasn't the perfect episode. I'm still going to give it the 4 out of 4 because I had a great time.
It was still very entertaining. I did have a good time. It was the one I was looking forward to the most. So I probably had my hopes a little too high, which is why I was a little disappointed by some of it. But it was still entertaining, and I still give it at least a 3. Now, one thing I did find interesting, and I've been saving this. I did a little reading up on the animated series when we started this thing, and I've been waiting for this episode because I've always wondered when we get to the animated Tribbles, where did the pink Tribbles come from? Why do we have pink Tribbles? That's so weird. Oh, it's because they're on the animated series. That was pink. I guess they wanted them to make them colorful or something. And they probably, it was probably an animation thing. They needed to make them all the same color, and they made them pink. Or maybe it's, if we wanted to hand wave it like a GM would, Cyrano, they're genetically enhanced. They're changed. Maybe they turned pink because they can't have babies or something. No, it's because the executive producer in charge of the animation was colorblind. And he thought they were like lightish brown. And that's why there are frequently, and I've seen it once or twice already, people in wrong color uniforms, people in weird color uniforms, people in pink shirts that they thought were gray or they thought were brown, and nobody knew until the end. Like, well, what? Why did you want this color? Well, that's not pink. That's brown. No, that's pink. Oh, well, make it brown. Wait, how could you think this is pink? Well, I'm colorblind. What?
How do you get a job? Okay, sure.
In animation, right?
Yeah.
So there's your little bit of additional animated series trivia. That's why there are pink Tribbles, because the guy was colorblind and they thought they were brown. Or lightish brown, tan, gray.
All right, I'll take it. Awesome. Yeah, I want more Tribbles from that episode, and maybe we'll see some.
That seems like the obvious choice.
Yeah, maybe we'll see some of the new set. Very good. Okay. Did you want to? I feel like I'm taking the obvious. I mean, the obvious is a tactic, right?
See, I thought you were going to go with more tribbles, like a tribble card.
There's only so much of that you can do.
Yeah,
Uh,
or a glommer. I think we've talked about that
Yeah.
for tribbles. A glommer that would, maybe eats a tribble from somebody's pile.
All right. I just had a great idea.
Oh no.
What if we had a card that you could play, but maybe only if the person, only if it was won or big money to you more than once, or something ridiculous like that. You play it down, and then every turn, every time it's in front of you, at the end of your turn, you have to discard the top card of your turbo pile and then pass it to the right, or whatever the opposite way the turn is going. So it just keeps going all the way around the table, just eating. No one would ever play that card, but it'd be funny.
Nom.
Yeah. Maybe put it on somebody else and just eats their tribbles. Any duplicate tribbles in their pile are discarded. You got 2 rescues, they're gone. You got 2 poisons, they're gone.
Wow. Well, maybe if it was the same power and number.
Okay. I'll make a note.
I'm sorry, Mr. 100,000 clone. You only get one of those.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. 10 poison.
I'm sorry, are all the 100,000s in your deck tallies?
Ooh.
Nom, 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 nom.
Tasty. All right. Okay.
But yeah, tactic is also my came to mind as well.
Yeah, a cool. If you're only facing one ship, and that would be interesting if you only had one ship and they only had one ship, you could play this tactic and put the ship in stasis. All ships in stasis.
What if it put the other ship in stasis, but it played as a damage marker on your ship?
Oh, well, that would be interesting. And if you moved away or got rid of the damage marker, then the stasis goes away?
Yeah. Only you have to bring somebody else come in and shields are down. And it lowers shields so you can beam over your boarding parties.
But they could beam over their boarding parties, apparently.
Ah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Here, have some tribbles.
Wait. Okay, hold on a second. Let's rewind. I got a problem with this episode now. At the very beginning, they were in the middle of a transport and they got hit with the mobile stasis field, and they couldn't do any transporting. Later on, they're in the stasis field and they beam the tribbles to the opponent's ship. What?
I didn't get that. I thought that they docked. Like, maybe I was wrong. Oh no, they just suddenly opened the door and there were tribbles there. I thought they were trying to come aboard the Enterprise.
Oh, I thought that was on the tribble. I thought that was on the Klingon ship because there were Klingon markings everywhere when they were walking around.
Yeah, no, I thought they because the Klingons were walking on, and then I thought they opened the door to go to the Enterprise, and then the tribbles rolled in to the Klingon ship.
All right, that could be it.
I could be wrong. I gotta say, wasn't paying super close attention.
As we should probably not. All right.
Yeah.
Have we anything else? I think that's about it, right?
I think we're pretty close to it. I got to get back to Comic-Con preparation, which is one of the other reasons I almost didn't go to the regional, but I am glad I did. We are about 2 weeks out, and Comic-Con is early this year, which means for some reason, I don't know that correlates, but Gen Con is also early this year. It's in fact a month away, 1 month away from Gen Con. And I got to tell you, I am so not stressed about it because having already decided that I'm not going to play in the big tournaments, I'm super excited because I'm not like, oh my God, I got to make a deck. Is it going to be good enough to still have fun and then not completely get torn apart? Like, don't care. Just going to go have some fun. Looking forward to the crossover pre-release. Looking forward to playing some HCG. Have no pressure at all. Very excited.
All right, sounds fun to me. I think last year I took 2 stupid decks to Worlds, and I had a good time. So if I do the same thing this time, I probably won't complain very much. I think I played my 3 headquarter bonus point deck for 2E, and I think I played my All-Star 1E deck that Thomas made a lot better, that I really should think about playing that way. But Anyway, yeah, we got a month, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll stress out, and you won't.
Yes.
I think
Well, I'll stress out about other things.
very good.
Like
All right.
Comic-Con.
All right, sounds good then. Let's tie it up.
Speaking of which, that's clearly the limit of our intelligence this week. So we'll give a shout out to Warp 11 for them being awesome. We'll give a welcome back to JD for coming back to our local tournaments, hopefully making some more of those happen now that we have some numbers. Thanks to TK for driving down for the regional. Thanks to everybody who came out to the regional and played, had a great time. Looking forward to seeing you all at the next one, and hope everybody else is having a good time with their regional season and getting ready for Gen Con. In the meantime, I am Sir Rogue.
And I'm Sir Dan.
And I'll remind you all to expand your power in the universe.
And I will Glommer End.